Next, we move to Resolution 2014-196, DEP Green Acres Enabling Resolution. This is a resolution that New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Green Acres Program provides loans and grants to municipal county governments for grants for nonprofit organizations assisting the acquisition and land development of lands for outdoor recreation and conservation purposes. And this resolution would allow for us to apply for $628,000 in a loan and a grant of $209,000 for the purchase of the former golf station on Brigantine Avenue, Brigantine Boulevard. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved. Second.
Discussion.
We've discussed this in closed session. I'm not going to talk about those discussions here. But did I, Andy, jump in case you did I fall asleep at this point?
I thought we canceled this all out.
Right.
I think everybody on this council said we're not interested in doing this.
Well, not everybody.
That was my question, too. And when I spoke with Jennifer, it was the issue of, well, we can go after this money, and if we get it, it may put us in a different situation regarding that piece of property.
It's loans. We don't want to be paying on a loan. If it's a grant, it's a different story.
Right.
I'll say something. It's not 200,000 more. What it is, it's not 209,000 more. What is we already received, not received, but we were awarded the 185, I believe it was, or 183,500, right, something like that. Once we got the appraisals, and this actually happened back in the summer before the last executive session, we got the appraisals in, so we reapplied to the New Jersey DEP to extend the amount of the actual grant from the 183 to the 209, because they'll go up to 25% of the funding. And then on top of that, because at that time we were still discussing possibly, we knew we couldn't get anything from the county through their Green Acres, but we were still discussing possible bonding or swapping of the property. So we were asking for a loan for the difference. Now, I don't want to get into executive session, but what I recall from the executive session, we didn't want to bond for anything, but we were still hoping to try to get possible other funding for it. So putting this in right now just leaves us still that opportunity. We will not get any of the money unless we actually go through with the purchase, but it's something that we can have there in case we can find other funding for it. But it's up to you. If you'd rather just cancel it all out, we can do that. It just seems like it's a good opportunity because we already have the award for it, and if we are able to get additional funding, maybe through Blue Acres or something like that. And we also have a request into the Stewart Trust as well again this year.
Well, didn't we already try Blue Acres and they denied us?
What's that?
We already tried Blue Acres?
No, what happened is we were actually approved for it and we pulled it because at the time that we were awarded the Blue Acres funding, which was about a year or two ago, I can't remember exactly when, at that point they were so restrictive of what we could do with the property that we couldn't even put up bathrooms or benches. Since that time, they've become more lenient. So talking to Jim Rotella just last week, we can still continue to apply for it as a possible funding option. And then we have the Stewart Trust, which is also, it's similar but a lot less restrictive than the Blue Acres.
So this seems like a good opportunity for us. It's just pushing the timeline back a little and maybe gives us a shot at acquiring that.
If you want, I mean, I can't, we were still
awarded. I think
awarded.
it's a great idea, and I don't think it would take anything away from our deliberations or what we decided at that point, because it just gives us maybe an end run.
Yeah, we still have the actual grant awarded to us for us to increase the grant amount from the 183 to the 209. We need the resolution. If council decides not to do the resolution, then we will not be considered. Sure. And you have that option to do that.
But Jennifer, I thought in executive session that we decided not to do this. Why all of a sudden it's put into this?
This was actually done in July, and they contacted us to say they need a resolution, so I'm bringing it back to council. But that's not, I don't want to get into executive session, right. But I recall, me talking to the property owner and you reaching out to the property owner about some other properties and so forth. So I didn't think it was something that, I should ignore and just say I'm not going to request additional grant funding. It's not something we would be taking if the purchase doesn't go through.
I think, and I agree with Andy. I think the consensus was that if it were grant money, we were all in favor of it. But I'm personally opposed to borrowing, whether you call it a loan or a bond. I'm personally opposed to borrowing the $600,000+. So.
We can amend it so we're only asking to increase the grant funding and remove the loan request from the application.
Well, before we go there, does this cost us money to get all, to apply for all this stuff? Because right now, the property owners, looks like he's ready to build houses on there.
There's no additional cost in this. This was actually from the original one we did 2 years ago, and it was updated early in the summer.
Okay.
So there's, for us just to call, for me to just email up the resolution to the state does not cost us any money. Okay. That's all this is at this point.
Item 2, when you look at the bottom, that we're resolving that in the event the state's funds are less than the total project cost specified above, the applicant has the balance of funding necessary to complete the project. So
we have to tell them.
If they give us a grant in the amount that's less, our resolution is saying is that we have the funding to complete the project.
That's in the original one when we received that money back 2 years ago, when we were looking for additional funding. If we do not move forward with the project, we're not required to, they can't make us or make the seller sell the property to us. Yeah, they can't make the seller sell the property to us. So if we're not actually buying the property, we would not be taking in the grant funding.
I don't think that's what the mayor's asking.
No, if you have a willing seller,
right,
and the price that
it's $700,000, he's asking for $500,000. We get $500,000.
Give you $300,000. Are we saying that we have the amount of money to make up the difference?
One question about the loan is in the second paragraph. Has that loan already been secured, or this is regarding?
This resolution actually initiates this.
Initiates that. Okay. No, you're under no requirement to purchase the property.
What I know about grants is if you take the funds in, you do have to provide the match that they require, and in this grant, it's a 75% match. If we don't take the funds in, we do not need to have that money secured.
So the grant is a 75% match of the... So it's a 25% grant, 75% loan.
For Green Acres, yeah.
For Green Acres. So, not to complicate this.
Right.
But if we have X amount of dollars coming off for different programs, does that slide back, that same ratio?
I believe Blue Acres is about a 50% funding. So what happens is Green Acres will do the 25%. Blue Acres would be 50%. When we were looking for the county, that could be part of our match. There are some requirements of some grants where, like a state program can't supplement a federal program, but in this, that's not what I'm getting from Jim Rotel. He's just trying to secure funding through the Stewart grant. We were trying with the county, the Blue Acres, to come up with the amount. But all this does is change the amount that we are rewarded from that $180,000 number, the 209 number. We're just asking for an increase in the 25% match.
So we can't be obligated in any way to encumber any funds.
But how can you ask for an increase if the program is set at 75-25?
Because the appraisal came in. So what we originally did is we underestimated the cost of the property.
So it's not we're getting more than 25%. We're just getting more money because the value of the property is higher.
Exactly.
So it's still a 75% loan.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we can take the loan out of the resolution. Or we do not have to pass the resolution at all, and we'll still have that 183 available until, until they say we ran out of time, to keep this on hold.
Are we talking about the whole parcel?
Yeah, that's a whole parcel.
Right now, I think there's plans to do 2 houses on that parcel.
I believe, I haven't spoken to Mike since after our last meeting.
I believe it's 2 houses. That has a potential of bringing in $30,000 plus, and we're going to take that off the tax rolls. Right now, people, I don't want anything coming off the tax rolls. we got to maintain our tax base, and I wouldn't be in favor of it.
Okay, we can, council...
I mean, as a Smith.
Well, yeah, I just want to throw something out there. We don't have to pass this resolution, and you can also give me authorization tonight to contact Green Acres and tell them we will not be interested in the 183 that were awarded before. That way, they can get that back into their, their grant program.
If we move on this and say yes to give us some extended timeline and more flexibility, okay, we can, at the time, if everything falls into place and comes through, at that point, we can have this discussion again and look at all the implications, no? Because even though I remember, we said we didn't want to cost the taxpayers anything, we think it would be such a great addition to have it as part of the city, open space forever, that I think it would offset the loss to the tax base. I mean, we've never really used that as an argument for anything like this before. So, I mean, it's theoretical until
there's movement on our part, or
all comes through, or doesn't.
Or Green Acres tells us that we
Right.
no longer have time.
Jennifer, based on what I'm hearing here from Councilman Simpson and what you're saying and everyone else is saying, how do we even know the seller is still interested? And if the seller is not interested in moving ahead with the project, this whole thing would just be pointless.
Right after the last executive session that we spoke to it, I did spoke to the seller, and he's still somewhat interested, and I did tell him that Councilman Simpson would be talking to him too, about some of the things that we had discussed, like we said in executive session. So I did speak to him. I haven't heard anything, back about it, and he hasn't contacted me and told me he's not interested. So I'm still going by.
Is this time sensitive?
It's going to eventually be time sensitive. For this resolution, for us to go from the 180,000 number to the 209, yes, I need to get it in after this council meeting because, when we put it in July, it's really now they're starting their new funding for the New Jersey DEP, and they need to close out all these other 180,000 number to the 209, yes, I need to get it in after this council meeting because, when we put it in July, it's really now they're starting their new funding for the New Jersey DEP, and they need to close out all these other.
To lose by passing the resolution.
It's, if you really made a firm decision that we're not moving forward, it's probably best for us not to do the resolution and me to contact Green Acres and tell them that we will not be taking this money because the longer we draw it out and not take the money, the less chance we're really going to get awards in the future for any Green Acres projects.
But, Jennifer, one of the other issues that we discussed in executive session, the way that the owner wanted to convey the property, where he wanted to donate half of it and then convey half of it for that
I don't know if
amount.
we can talk about this out here, but I did speak to him about that we wanted one price for the full property.
Well, the point I was making was that the consensus was that it would not appraise properly for us to borrow the money.
Right.
If in fact we wanted to move forward.
Right, that had the one price for the full property, is that what you're saying?
Well, I think the discussion was that based on what he wanted to convey, it would not appraise for the amount of the dollar amount that he was requesting.
Well, I don't know how much I should get into this, but I did talk to
I think
him,
why
and
don't we just...
he's aware of our...
Why don't we just vote it up or down?
I mean, the other way of looking at this, if you read the resolution, you're applying for a $628,000 loan.
We can remove that portion of it per the attorney.
So
You're only going to get 25?
But you need to motion that to
what's the
change
difference
it.
between the Green Acres funding and going to market? Is it a low-interest loan?
Yes, I don't have the interest rate, but it's a lower interest loan.
So either way, whether you get the grant or you don't, you're financing the rest of this project right now.
Hopefully through other grant monies that may become available. but where there's no guarantee that that will happen. That's where we are right now.
Okay.
Personally, this is a unique piece of property. It's at the Lighthouse. The city will never get an opportunity to have this piece of property again if there are houses built on there, on that area. It abuts the Marine Mammal Stranding Center and the Historical Society structure, and it would be a wonderful asset for the city to have it. Personally, I know that it would cost us some money in tax base. I know that we would have to go out and borrow money to obtain it, but nevertheless, as I've stated before, I'm in favor of the city doing everything possible to obtain this piece of property while it is still available. I think it would be good for the city and good for the Marine Mammal Stranding Center, which is one of the few items that we have in the city that brings people over the bridge into Brigantine to see a very nice facility that's educational and a true asset to the city of Brigantine. So I'm in favor of applying for the increased amount and hoping that this council will change its mind about borrowing the funds, and we're talking about $500,000, to obtain this property while it's still available.
Thank you, Frank. Okay. Any further discussion?
I mean, I'd just like to say I wish everything that we could get a hold of it, but I would not be willing to borrow money, for the city to borrow money to do it. But I think if we go with this now, we may have a long shot of getting some other grant so that we wouldn't have to do it through a loan. That's my reason to think that we ought to do this and take the line out about the loan and try to call a long shot.
Unless there's another property that we can sell. So
I believe that's what we discussed.
Jennifer, can we go back to Mike and see if give him a list of properties that we have and see if he's interested in any of those properties that we're willing to sell?
Sure.
Or trade for it? If we could trade it if the property's not bringing in tax now and you flip it out of that way, the city's not, it doesn't cost the city anything. So,
That's what we had discussed in executive
Right.
session. That's what I originally reached out to him, and he
Right.
was going to talk to you about too, you know.
Okay, so if
So.
if I have
Yeah, okay,
permission
I'll
from
reach out
everybody,
to
that
Mike
if
again.
you let me go talk to him and we'll sit down and see what he's interested in, and I'll bring it back to our next executive session and go from there.
I recall in a conversation that we were talking about auction possibly on the, as opposed to trade.
That's why we have to go.
I think
We were talking all possibilities.
the
but
solicitor was saying
we would
some
like,
issues.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if the,
Well,
That's one way you
Yep.
could raise the funds, be an auction.
right,
In a public auction, if it isn't a trade.
right.
Could I suggest that we table this tonight until we get some more information from Jim Rotella, who's the grant? Because I'm not sure of the coordination of all these different grants, some state, some
Well,
federal.
the problem is if I don't get this to them tomorrow or this week, we won't have the opportunity to increase that, to 209 from 183. We won't lose the 183, but we won't be able to increase it, the 25% because they're closing out everything now.
And we're increasing it to 209 or 206?
I think it's 209 in the ordinance from the 183. That's their share. That it's still 25% on the part of the DEP. It's just that the appraisal was higher than our originally submitted number.
Well, I think what we're hearing here is that nobody wants to lose, well, we're not going to lose the 183, but increasing it to the 206, I think we're all in favor of that, so long as the city isn't obligated in any way, shape, or form to have to go out and borrow the money.
So take out the loan part of the...
Pardon?
Can we amend?
Is there a consensus on taking out the loan part and see what happens with other sources of funding?
I'll make that motion that we strike
yeah.
strike the provision or the wording about the loan. Does anybody want a second?
Okay, so we want to
amend.
We want to amend the,
I believe didn't you start voting on this one already? There was a motion.
no, we didn't. We did not.
We're doing the
We didn't do
amendment.
roll call. We're still in the discussion phase. We had a motion to amend it to take out the reference to loan and only ask for the grant amount of $209,625 or more if it's available.
And then also in paragraph 3, subset A, make application for the strike loan and or such. So it would read now, make application for a grant.
Correct.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. So we've had a motion second.
Well, wait a minute, I got a question for our attorney over there. Throw some more stuff at you. See, Fred shouldn't got sick, you know? The gentleman that owns this property used to be a business partner of mine. I don't know if that's a conflict.
I think you should probably recuse yourself on this matter.
Okay,
Thank you for saying that on the record.
thank you.
Okay, so we need a motion. We've had a motion and a second to amend. So could we have roll call on the amended resolution?
Sorry, who seconded it? I didn't hear that part.
Somebody, no, I don't think.
Who did
anybody-
second?
I'll second it if somebody hasn't.
Simpson,
Abstain.
McClay,
Yes.
McCarty,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Cloa,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay.